thank the ranking member and tell people that the first panel will be President Wałęsa, and that panel will conclude after his statement, so that we'll just break for a short 3 to 5 minutes and convene the second panel at that point. If there are members that came in late that wanted to greet the President personally during that break, feel free to do that. And now I'll introduce our witness. His Excellency, Lech Wałęsa, has long been a tireless labor activist and advocate for democracy who helped form and lead Poland's first independent trade union, Solidarity. During the communist period in Poland, he brought this together at a very difficult time. President Wałęsa received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1983 for his activism, but he was unable to accept it himself out of fear of not being able to return to his home country of Poland. Originally a humble electrician from the Polish city of Gdansk, President Wałęsa became the leader of a movement to throw off the chains of communist oppression and return Poland to its rightful place among democratic nations. A staunch supporter of freedom, he went on to become the first elected president of Poland. Since that time, President Wałęsa, through the Lech Wałęsa Institute, has been a strong voice to uphold democratic values in Europe. We're honored to have him here with us today. I'll just note that we'll not be dealing with the question and answer period again for the people that had just come in. And now we'll ask the President for his statement and remarks. And again, thank you for being here.
We the people, that is how what do I do?
I think you can do two.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. We the people, this was exactly how I started my address 30 years ago.
Jako rewolucjonista dziś musiałbym powiedzieć 2 razy te same zdanie.
As a revolutionary, I would have to repeat the same sentence twice.
Wtedy kończyliśmy pewną epokę.
Back then, we were putting an end to a certain era.
Wielką epokę podziałów Europy i świata.
The era of great divisions, deep divisions in the world and in Europe.
I to temu pokoleniu udało się.
And our generation succeeded in bringing these divisions to the end.
Ale jednocześnie na horyzoncie powstała nowa epoka.
At the same time, a new era appeared on the horizon.
Epoka intelektu, informacji, globalizacji.
That of intellect, information and globalization.
I ten czas, obecny czas jest dużo trudniejszy i gorszy od poprzedniego.
And I would actually say that today's period, today's challenges are greater than those we witnessed 30 years ago.
Właściwie wszystkie dziedziny, w tym rola Stanów Zjednoczonych, powinna ulec zmianie.
Actually, all the areas of our life, including the role of the United States, should be reformed.
Na skróty można powiedzieć tak. Jedna epoka upadła, druga nie powstała.
Briefly speaking, we could say that the old era came to an end and collapsed, yet the new one has not fully emerged.
Czas, w jakim się znaleźliśmy, ja nazywam epoka słowa.
This transitory period in which we are living now is something I refer to as the era of the word.
Najpierw było słowo, a słowo ciałem się jutro stanie.
First came the word, which will turn flesh only tomorrow.
Więc musimy bardzo dużo rozmawiać, robić tego typu spotkania.
So we have to debate very broadly and organize hearings of this kind, conferences and meetings.
By zauważyć różność tych epok.
To realize how different the two eras I'm talking about are.
Technologię doprowadziliśmy do wysokości takiej, że wiele tematów nie mieści się w naszych krajach, państwach.
We have advanced our technologies so greatly that many aspects of our life no longer can be confined to respective countries, respective states.
I to ten rozwój przede wszystkim ciśnie nas na zmiany.
And I would actually say that this technological advancement is the factor that presses us to go ahead and to improve things.
Każdy kraj miał swoją drogę historyczną.
Each country followed its different historical path.
Dopracował się swoich rozwiązań, nawet innej religii.
Each had provided its own solutions and each followed even a different religion.
Żeby budować większe struktury, to musimy to wszystko widzieć.
And if we want to unite, integrate ourselves in larger structures, we must realize that these differences are there.
Oczywiście w Stanach to może nie widać, ale w Europie to dokładnie widać.
Obviously, maybe in the perspective of the United States, you do not observe this phenomenon here so profoundly, but we can see it very clearly in Europe.
W Europie mogliśmy znieść granice, wprowadzić euro.
We were able to open up borders within Europe, introduce euro as single currency.
A nawet możemy, każdy kraj może pracować, każdy człowiek z każdego kraju może w innym kraju pracować.
And we have reached the situation in which a resident of one member state can work in any other member state within Europe.
Ale to jest koniec tej drogi.
But I guess this is the cul-de-sac. This is the end. We can't go any further at this point.
Stanęły podstawowe pytania.
Quite simply because we have not as yet answered the basic questions that need the answer.
Na jakich fundamencie chcemy osadzić tę nową budowlę Europy i świata?
What should serve as the new foundation for new integrated Europe and actually new globalized world?
Drugie pytanie, a jaki system ekonomiczny na tą epokę jest potrzebny?
And the second unanswered question is what economic system would be effective for this new era?
Na pewno nie komunizm, bo się nigdzie w żadnym kraju na świecie nie sprawdził.
Certainly not communism because it has not proven effective in even a single country throughout the world.
Ale na pewno też nie taki kapitalizm, jak obowiązywał w tamtej epoce.
But on the other hand, certainly not the kind of the capitalist system that we have witnessed in the world so far.
W tamtym kapitalizmie ścigaliśmy się, każdy kraj co lepiej, taniej i więcej zarobił.
In the old capitalism, so to say, we raced once against the other. We competed. We wanted to beat the others, whoever was faster, whoever was better.
Ktoś nazwał tę epokę wyścig szczurów między państwami.
Some referred to it as a rat's race among states.
Kiedy dziś tak się nie ścigamy, to połowy kapitalizmu odpada.
And I guess that once we no longer need to race against one another, we could forget about half of the content of the capitalist system as such.
A jak wygląda dziś demokracja?
Then another question can be asked regarding democracy today.
Mnie uczono, że demokracja jest z większością.
I was always taught that democracy is wherever the majority are.
A dziś większość w niektórych krajach nie chodzi na wybory.
Meanwhile, in most countries, the majority of people do not come to vote.
I jutro będą wchodzić tylko ci, co mają być wybierani, a reszta nie będzie chodzić.
And I can foresee the situation tomorrow when only those running for offices will be participating in elections. Nobody else will be interested.
A więc trzeba przeorganizować, inaczej zorganizować życie polityczne.
Which simply goes to say that we need to reform, reorganize our political life.
A więc w tym pokoleniu mamy wielkie zadania, a szczególnie Stany Zjednoczone.
So during the lifetime of this generation, we are really faced with an enormous challenge and a task. And the task is actually for the United States to handle it as well.
Poprowadzić taką epokę słowa, byśmy znaleźli odpowiedzi na dalszy rozwój Europy i świata.
To handle it, that means to lead both Europe and the world answering these questions so that we also know how to proceed with the future of Europe and the world.
Jeszcze raz powtarzam, zorganizowanie do końca XX wieku w tamtej epoce, prawie wszystkie zorganizowania nie pasują na dzisiejszy czas.
And let me make this point again. Almost none of the structures that proved effective and existed in the world until the end of the 20th century, none of them is effective today. They all need to be reformed.
Musimy wszystko zrobić, by Stany Zjednoczone odzyskały kierowanie światem.
We need to do everything we can for the United States to restore its leadership position in the world.
Bo inaczej może nas czekać tragedia światowa.
Or we might be faced with a real world disaster.
Chyba że Stany Zjednoczone nie chcą przewodzić światu, to niech oddadzą ten interes Polsce, my będziemy wiedzieli, co z tym zrobić.
Obviously, there may be a situation when the United States is unwilling to continue with its leadership position, but it can then share its position with Poland, and we will know how to handle the business.
Szanowni Państwo, przygotowałem się na dwa wystąpienia.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, members of the committee, I have prepared two different addresses.
Jedno wystąpienie na piśmie zostawiam Państwu. Kogo będzie interesować, to proszę bardzo korzystać.
One a little bit more detailed in writing, and I'm going to leave it with you for you to become acquainted with it, whoever wants to have a look at it.
Ale drugie to, które zrobiłem teraz bez przygotowania.
And the other one that's not properly written, the one I have just made.
Pierwsze zadanie nam się wspólnie udało.
Well, the first task that we had to face was a successful one.
Wydawało się, że to było trudne zadanie.
That task of bringing communism down seemed challenging, a difficult one.
Chodziło o zmianę systemu, zmianę układu powojennego.
We had to change the balance of power in the world that had been in the world since the end of the Second World War.
Ale dziś, kiedy patrzę, to te zadanie drugie jest naprawdę trudniejsze.
But today, when I'm looking at things from today's perspective, it seems that the challenge we are facing now is even tougher than the one 30 years ago.
A od tego zależy, jak będą mówić o tamtym zwycięstwie.
And actually, depending on the way how we handle this today's challenge, people will be assessing our victory from years back.
Albo dziękować nam za te zwycięstwo, albo przeklinać nas.
They will either be grateful to us for what we had done before, or they will curse us for that victory.
I mimo mojego wieku jeszcze się włączam w te lekkie budowania,
And
te słowa.
despite my advanced age, I continue contributing to the construction of things in this era of the word.
Z tego, jak popatrzyłem na salę, to nie ma nikogo, kto był na tamtym moim wystąpieniu.
As I glance through the participants today, there is nobody here who witnessed my address at the Congress 30 years ago.
Mam nadzieję, że... Mam nadzieję, że jeszcze na trzecie zdążę odpowiedzieć zaproszenie.
Well, I do hope I will be asked once again to address the Congress for the third time in the future.
Niech Pan Bóg błogosławi Ameryce i Polsce.
God bless America and God bless Poland. Thank you.
President Wałęsa, anyone that thought they were going to come and hear you speak today and thought you were just going to be nostalgic about the last 30 years was wrong. Yeah, I mean, what we got and what we appreciate is someone looking 30 years in the future and where we have to go. So we're so grateful for your courage and leadership back then. But we also, as a Congress and as a House Committee on Foreign Affairs, in a bipartisan way, will take your challenge and work as much as we can to be leaders in a multilateral and global world and accept our responsibility. And we may not have to rely on Poland to carry the whole burden. And now, if we could, and we've been joined, and I ask unanimous consent that Ms. Kaptur is with us for this hearing. Representative, we're going to break for about 3 minutes and have an opportunity for those that weren't here in the beginning to speak with and see the president. So if we could, we'll take a brief recess of about 5 minutes. Thank you.